What I am about to tell you is not taught in any school. Your parents did not know it. Your boss will never tell you because it would cost him everything. There is one behavior, one invisible chain that separates the wealthy from the poor. Not talent, not luck, not education. One behavior. You are doing it. Everyone you know is doing it. And until you stop, the door to wealth will remain locked forever. This behavior is not laziness. The hardest working men I ever knew died broke. It is not ignorance. Some of the most educated men I encountered never built a fortune. It is not bad luck. Luck is the excuse of those who refuse to examine their own choices. The behavior that keeps men poor, the silent killer of fortunes, is this: trading time for money without ever building anything that lasts. Most men spend their entire lives in this trap. They wake up, go to work, exchange hours for wages, come home, spend those wages, sleep, and repeat. Day after day, year after year, decade after decade. They are not building wealth. They are renting their survival. And here is the cruelest part. They believe they are doing everything right. They believe hard work is the answer. They believe that if they just work more hours, get a raise, find a better job, someday, somehow, wealth will appear. It will not. It cannot. Because the model itself is broken. If you are exchanging time for money and nothing else, you are standing on a treadmill. You can run faster, you can run longer, but you will never move forward. The treadmill does not care how hard you work. It is designed to keep you in place. Today, I am going to show you exactly why this trap exists, how it works, and most importantly, how to escape it. Not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Now, let me show you. Consider two men who begin their working lives on the same day, in the same city, with the same opportunities. The first man, call him the worker, finds a good job. He is reliable, competent, and diligent. He earns a respectable wage. Each year, he receives a small raise. He is proud of his stability. He believes he is building a future. But watch what happens to his money. His wage arrives on Friday. By Monday, most of it is gone. Rent, food, transportation, the small pleasures that make the grind bearable. Whatever remains, he saves in modest amounts. He is doing everything society told him to do. 40 years later, the worker retires. He has a small pension, a modest savings account, and a lifetime of labor behind him. He is not destitute, but he is not free. He must watch every expense. He cannot help his children the way he wishes. He cannot travel, cannot give, cannot live without counting coins. He did everything right, and yet he is not wealthy. Now observe the second man. Call him the builder. He starts with the same job, the same wage, the same circumstances. But his mind operates differently. He does not see his wage as the destination. He sees it as raw material, fuel for something greater. While the worker spends his evenings resting from his labor, the builder spends his evenings learning. He studies how businesses work. He observes where value is created and captured. He asks questions the worker never thinks to ask. How do the wealthy actually become wealthy? What do they own that I do not? What are they building while I am merely working? Within 3 years, the builder has saved enough to make a small investment. It fails. He learns. He tries again. The second investment produces a modest return. He reinvests. He keeps his job, but now his money is working alongside him. Within 10 years, the builder's investments produce more income than his job. Within 20 years, he no longer needs the job at all. His wealth generates wealth. He has escaped the treadmill. Same starting point, same hours in the day, same economy, same opportunities, same initial resources, completely different outcomes. The difference was not talent. It was not luck. It was the decision to stop trading time for money and start building something that lasts. Let me be very precise about why trading time for money keeps you poor. There are only 24 hours in a day. 8 are spent sleeping. 8 are spent working. The remaining 8 are divided among eating, commuting, chores, and the small recovery necessary to do it all again tomorrow. Your time is finite. It is the one resource you cannot manufacture, cannot multiply, cannot recover once spent. When you trade time for money, your income has a ceiling, the number of hours you can physically work multiplied by your hourly rate. That is the maximum. And for most men, even working to exhaustion, that maximum is not enough to build wealth. But here is what the wealthy understand. Money has no such limitation. Money can work 24 hours a day. Money does not need sleep. Money can be in multiple places simultaneously. Money can multiply itself in ways that human labor never can. The wealthy do not trade time for money. They trade money for systems, systems that generate more money without requiring their constant presence. This is the fundamental shift that separates the worker from the builder. The worker sells hours. His income stops when he stops. The builder creates assets. His income continues whether he works or not. The worker is the engine. When the engine stops, the car stops. The builder builds engines. They run without him. This is not a small distinction. This is the entire difference between a lifetime of labor and a lifetime of freedom. Now let me show you the specific ways men trade time for money without realizing they are trapping themselves. The first trap is the salary trap. A salary feels like security. It arrives predictably, month after month. You can plan around it. You can budget with it. It feels stable. But a salary is a cage disguised as a comfort. Your income is controlled by someone else. Your raises are determined by someone else. Your continued employment is decided by someone else. You have traded freedom for predictability, and most men do not realize the cost until it is too late. I watched men work for my companies for decades. Good men, loyal men, men who gave their best years to the enterprise. And when the economy shifted, when the industry changed, when their positions were no longer needed, they had nothing. Their decades of labor had purchased survival, not freedom. The salary trap is not escaped by finding a higher salary. A larger cage is still a cage. It is escaped by building income that you control, that does not depend on someone else's decision to keep paying you. The second trap is the lifestyle trap. This is perhaps the cruelest trap because it tightens as your income grows. A man earns $30,000 and spends $29,000. He gets a raise to $50,000 and adjusts his lifestyle to spend $49,000. He earns $100,000 and spends $98,000. At every level, he expands his expenses to match his income. Better apartment, better car, better clothes, better entertainment. He feels like he is progressing. He has nicer things. He lives in a better neighborhood. But his wealth, the gap between what he earns and what he keeps, remains almost zero. This man will never be free, no matter how much he earns. His lifestyle is a parasite that grows with its host. The more he makes, the more it consumes. The wealthy do not operate this way. When their income increases, their lifestyle increases slowly, if at all. The gap between earning and spending widens. That gap is the raw material of wealth. That gap is what purchases freedom. The third trap is the comfort trap. Trading time for money is comfortable. It is predictable. It requires no risk, no uncertainty, no terror of failure. Building something requires all of those things. It requires risking money you cannot afford to lose. It requires trying things that might not work. It requires the possibility of embarrassment, of setback, of starting over with nothing. Most men choose comfort. They choose the known misery over the unknown possibility. They would rather be certain of their cage than uncertain of their freedom, and so they remain trapped, not by external circumstances, but by their own unwillingness to endure the discomfort that freedom requires. Let me tell you about a young man who came to work in my steel mills in 1887. His name was Robert. He was 22 years old, strong, intelligent, and desperately poor. He worked 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. He earned just enough to rent a room and feed himself. Robert had a choice, the same choice every man faces. He could accept his position as permanent. He could trade his hours for wages until his body gave out, then hope that his modest savings would carry him through whatever years remained. Or he could see his position as temporary, a starting point, not a destination. Robert chose the second path. He came to me one evening after his shift, exhausted, covered in soot, but with fire in his eyes. "Mr. Carnegie," he said, "I do not intend to work in this mill forever. I intend to own a mill. I need to know how." I liked this young man immediately, not because of his ambition. Ambition is common. I liked him because he was not asking for a favor. He was asking for knowledge. He understood that information was more valuable than charity. I told him what I am telling you now. "Robert, you are currently trading time for money. As long as you continue doing only that, you will remain poor, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many hours you give, no matter how skilled you become. The model itself is a trap." He listened. "You must take a portion of your wages, whatever you can spare, even if it is uncomfortable, and deploy it into something that can grow without your presence. You must build, not just work. Do you understand the difference?" He nodded, though I could see he was not certain. "A man who works earns once, when he labors. A man who builds earns twice, when he labors and when his assets labor for him. Over time, the second stream overtakes the first, and eventually the second stream makes the first unnecessary. That is how wealth is built. That is how freedom is won." Robert took my words seriously. He lived on half his wages, uncomfortable, cramped, deprived of the small pleasures his co-workers enjoyed. The other half he saved, then invested in a small partnership with a man who manufactured tools. The first year, his investment returned nothing. The second year, a modest profit. By the 5th year, his investment income matched his mill wages. By the 10th year, it exceeded them. Robert left the mill at 35 years old, not because he was tired, but because he no longer needed to trade his time for someone else's money. He had built something that worked for him. The last I heard, he owned 3 factories of his own. Same starting point as every other mill worker, same hours, same wages. Completely different destination, because he stopped doing what kept men poor. Here is what you must understand. The economy is designed to keep you trading time for money. The entire system, education, employment, consumption, is structured to produce reliable workers who spend what they earn. Schools teach you to follow instructions, meet deadlines, and trade your hours for grades. They do not teach you to build assets, to invest, to create value that scales beyond your personal effort. Employers pay you just enough to keep you dependent, but not enough to make you free. They need your labor. They do not benefit from your independence. Advertisers ensure that whatever you earn, you spend. They create desires you did not know you had. They make you feel inadequate until you purchase their solution, which creates the need for more work, more hours, more trading of time for money. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply a system operating as designed. And the design does not have your freedom as its goal. You must opt out of this system deliberately. No one will do it for you. No one will tell you to stop trading time for money. Everyone around you is doing it. It feels normal because it is common. But common is not the same as correct, and normal is not the same as optimal. The question is not whether you can afford to stop trading time for money. The question is whether you can afford to continue. So how do you escape? Let me give you the method, not theory but action. First, accept that hard work alone will never make you wealthy. This is the most difficult mental shift because everything you have been taught contradicts it. But it is the truth. Hard work is necessary. It is not sufficient. There are men working harder than you who will die with nothing. There are men working less than you who will live in abundance. The difference is not effort, it is allocation. Where is your effort directed? Is it building something that lasts, or is it merely purchasing another day of survival? Accept this truth, and you can move forward. Reject it, and you will remain trapped, working harder and harder on a treadmill that goes nowhere. Second, create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. This is non-negotiable. Without this gap, there is no raw material for building. Without this gap, you are converting all your labor into consumption, leaving nothing to compound. The size of the gap matters less than its existence. Start with 10% if you must, but start. And guard this gap with your life. It is not savings, it is seed capital. It is the future trying to be born. Third, deploy the gap into assets that work without you. An asset is something that generates income whether you are present or not. A job is not an asset. It requires your presence. A business that depends entirely on your labor is not an asset. It is another job with more risk. True assets include ownership stakes in businesses, investments that generate dividends or returns, intellectual property that earns royalties, real estate that produces rent, systems that create value at scale. Your goal is to accumulate these assets until their income exceeds your expenses. At that point, you are free. Work becomes optional. Time becomes yours. Fourth, reinvest until the snowball becomes unstoppable. The early years are the hardest. Your assets are small. Their income is modest. It feels like nothing is happening. But wealth builds exponentially, not linearly. The first $10,000 is brutal. The next $10,000 is easier. The first $100,000 takes years. The second $100,000 takes months. Do not be discouraged by slow, early progress. Do not consume your returns. Reinvest everything until the snowball has enough mass to roll on its own. Then, and only then, can you begin to enjoy the fruits. Fifth, protect your mindset ruthlessly. You will be surrounded by people who trade time for money. They will question your choices. They will mock your sacrifices. They will tell you to relax, to enjoy yourself, to stop being so obsessive. Do not listen. They are not evil. They are simply trapped, and they want company in their cage. Find others who are building. Learn from those who have escaped. Guard your mind against the comfortable lies that keep men poor. Most men will hear this message and do nothing. They will agree that trading time for money is a trap. They will understand the logic. They will feel a flicker of motivation, and then they will return to their lives unchanged. They will go to work tomorrow, trade their hours for wages, spend what they earn, and repeat. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack will. Because comfort is easier than change. Because the cage is familiar. That is their choice, and I do not condemn them for it. Every man must walk his own path. But you who have listened this far, you are different. Something in you knows that there is more. Something in you refuses to accept that this is all there is. Something in you is ready to stop doing what keeps men poor. That something is the seed of your fortune. Do not ignore it. Do not let it be buried under the weight of routine and resignation. The behavior that keeps men poor is simple. trading time for money without building anything that lasts. The escape is equally simple. Build. Build assets. Build systems. Build income that does not depend on your presence. Build a life where work is a choice, not a necessity. It will not happen overnight. It will not be easy. There will be setbacks, failures, moments when you question everything. But if you stay the course, if you refuse to retreat to the comfort of the treadmill, you will look back on this moment as the turning point. The day you stopped renting your survival and started building your freedom. Let me leave you with this. Every wealthy man I have known, every builder of fortunes, every creator of empires, started exactly where you are now. They had nothing but their time and their labor. They faced the same choice you face. They chose to build. They chose to endure the discomfort of delayed gratification. They chose to be different from the masses who trade and spend, until there is nothing left to trade. You have the same choice before you now. Stop trading time for money as your only strategy. Start building something that lasts. Start today, not tomorrow, not next month, not when conditions are perfect. The treadmill will always be there waiting to take you back. The cage door is always open from the inside. The question is whether you will walk through it. Most men never do. They live and die on the treadmill, running in place, wondering why they never arrived. But you are not most men. You cannot be, because you have heard the truth, and the truth cannot be unheard. The vault is open. The escape route is clear. Stop doing what keeps men poor. Start building what makes men free.